This is my picture of how a performance contract works. It's in the form of a Sankey diagram. And so you see where you start off in the left in the blue bar, you have the total energy and operational costs. And so this bar represents all the costs that you have today. And then we begin to peel off those costs. We peel those off into a financing payment and an ongoing services and lower cost post-construction. So the idea is you have your energy and operational costs. You do a construction project, which lowers those costs. And then you have lower cost post-construction, but some of those savings are peeled off and are paid to finance the construction. And some of those are peeled off to pay for the ongoing services, which may represent service and maintenance, or it could represent measurement and verification services to validate the savings. When we look at the stages down below, we start out and we see buildings often come to us because they have aging equipment, high cost services, poor indoor environment. There's a lot of reasons that clients will come to an ESCO for this work. They might be under a mandate from local government to reduce energy consumption or reduce greenhouse gases. In those cases, our projects do help out those. But generally, most of our projects are justified and started because the client sees some need for an improvement of their facility. And our biggest market is K-12 schools. There's a massive amount of deferred maintenance K-12 schools. If you look at the bottom corner of the yellow area, it shows there's an investment grade audit. And although I show it kind of small in the big picture, it's actually a key linchpin part of the whole process. When you do an investment grade audit, it is not just an audit that you get and you flip through and say, well, this is nice, and you put it on a shelf. It is an audit that has been developed with contractors involved and it has firm fixed price. In other words, the ESCO will develop the investment grade audit, offer it to the client, and they'll say, we'll build this project with no change orders because they developed the scope, they engineered it, and they take on all the risk of potential change orders or mistakes. The investment grade audit also carries with it a guaranteed savings. And so that product of guaranteed savings means that if the savings is not achieved through the measurement and verification process that's in the contract, the energy service company will make up the difference either by writing a check, providing some ongoing services, whatever it is the client and the ESCO agree to, they have to make up the difference so that the client is whole. When you do a performance contract, one of the key things about it is that there is no scope when you start. The client may have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't necessarily have a scope like you might bid out. The ESCO would develop the scope, and you select a partner by qualifications, which is why the accreditation process is so important. The ESCO would then, once they're selected, would go through an investment grade audit with the client and make that product be what the client wants to do. So the scope is variable, and there's a lot of input from the client as well as the ESCO to determine what the scope needs to be. Then you begin the construction, that small yellow bar there in the middle. And again, the size doesn't represent its importance. The construction project is key because when the ESCO does that installation, it's key to ensure that the proper equipment makes it into the project. There's no substitutions last minute that might change the energy savings. And at the end of that construction, to ensure that it's commissioned and started up properly, and that whoever's going to maintain that equipment is properly trained to operate and maintain that equipment well to assure the savings continues throughout the life of the contract. That second bar, now it's kind of a light green. In the middle, this area is the performance period. So once construction has been done, you've checked off the punch list and everybody shakes their hands and says the project is done, you enter into the performance period. And this is where the savings begins to accumulate. We also, as we accumulate the savings, we have to pay the financing. So the client typically will get some sort of a financing package to pay for the construction. And then that savings will pay that financing package off over the life of the contract, which could be 15 to 30 years. The savings that we see in these contracts is often somewhere around the range of 25 to 30%. Then there might be some ongoing services that are included. Maybe that's for an ongoing service contract. Maybe it's extended warranty. It's more than likely going to include some measurement and verification process to validate the savings. During the performance period, the ESCO works with you to make sure you understand how equipment works, answer questions, and then on an annual basis, typically, they'll do an evaluation of the savings, present that to you, and if there's any shortfall, they'll make a shortfall payment. Most of the time, the ESCOs are pretty good about making the savings on their projects, but it does happen. Once that 15 to 30-year contract is completed, then the owner takes all the savings, and those savings then go to accrue to the bottom line. But we have to be realistic. If you go 15 to 30 years, much of the equipment is probably also ready to be replaced again, and you're ready to do another contract. And so some life will extend, but some life will also probably have to be replaced and new equipment, and you start the process again, maybe with another performance contract, maybe with whatever in 30 years we offer on the market then.